Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Fiscal Philosophy YouTube channel, where I, of course, am bullish on HITI Stock. It is one of the core holdings in my value account. They're trading for right in the neighborhood of around 10 times their free cash flow at the moment. And they, of course, have been using that to reinvest in their business, grow store count, etc. However, there is a threat to this stellar management team. A competitor, a more vertically integrated company in this business called Sundial, has acquired 5.4%, I believe, in the company. I know it's over 5%. I believe it's 5.4%. It's the exact number of shares, which with the current share count would be a little over 4 million shares. This company has a history of doing takeovers that are of the hostile variety. 5% and change isn't quite enough to be a threat in the immediate future, but if you continue to see that number rise, it could be concerning. Sundial has currently a market cap of close to $400 million, which puts them at more than double the current market cap of HITI. So they may feel a little frisky, like they can possibly try to buy their way in and absorb HITI. Now, HITI's retail investors, they call themselves barnacles because they hold on tight, and they are, for the most part, quite loyal to the CEO, Raj Grover, and his vision for the business and his management style is a big part of the bull thesis, because he is a founder CEO who built the business from one store with just $50,000 into 191 stores and a market cap of, 9 figures. It's in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So yeah, he's pretty impressive, and he's done a very good job, and we would like to see him continue to do that. And of course, the business produces positive free cash flow, which I don't believe that this Sundial company does. So at the end of the day, what we don't want is for Sundial to come in and basically decide that they want to either absorb HITI entirely and turn us all into Sundial shareholders, because in my opinion, their management is inferior to the management of HITI. Now, on the flip side, this doesn't necessarily equate to all bad news, because if Sundial wants to accumulate enough shares to actually do something hostile, they would have to buy at market price. And that amount of buying pressure would probably result in a price increase on HITI shares. So current shareholders would, in a way, benefit from that price appreciation if retail shareholders really do hold on tight like they're known to do. So that could be like a little bit of a win-win for us if they try by buying a bunch of shares and then fail. Of course, it would be kind of negative if they then after that dumped the shares after failing, because that would obviously negatively affect the stock price. One hypothesis of why Sundial has taken a stake in HITI is, hey, maybe they just want to add this cash flow onto their own. As HITI has, I think, the more attractive multiple, around 10 times their free cash flow, currently, where Sundial's around 15 times. Granted, if both businesses are growing, that's cheap either way you look at it. However, I think on the retail side, Sundial sees that HITI runs a very tight ship and has a very compelling business model. So maybe it is just a matter of they want to add this cash flow onto their own and be more of a vertically integrated conglomerate in this space. In fact, like, they would be close to being maybe even arguably a monopoly in some regards, because High Tide is such a strong retail force in this space, and what would the competition do in that case? Like the mom and pops and stuff, it would almost be unfair at that point. But there's a part of me that thinks maybe it's more nefarious. Maybe they want to acquire enough shares to the point where they can interfere with High Tide, maybe shake things up and obstruct them, and basically do what they can to like stall their expansion and actually like sabotage their business. Now, I don't know what the odds are of that actually happening. Like, is it really worth acquiring a substantial percentage of a company just to try to make sure they fail? Or is it a strategic investment that maybe they hope to grow into a merger or of some kind? The problem is, if it's hostile and they oust current management, and current management are the ones that are causing this wonderful stream of cash flow to occur, that would be bad in the long run for anybody that hangs on through that. So all in all, the way I'm viewing it as a retail shareholder is anything that comes up, if there's like any votes or anything that come up, obviously, if it comes down to it, I'll vote with Raj, the CEO, because he's gotten it this far. I think he's the right guy to get it to the next level, and that's what I can do. And hey, I could also just keep buying more shares, because more shares in my hand is more votes that I have. But I personally on my own won't make much of a difference. If a lot of the other retail investors feel the same way, though, they can, of course, increase their stake. And if the retail ownership goes up and most of those retail investors are loyal to Raj, then there is much less threat of something like Sundial doing an actual, real hostile takeover. I personally view this as bullish either way, because, of course, on the one hand, either Sundial views High Tide's business as something they want a piece of, or all of, in whatever case, or they view them as enough of a threat that they feel like they need to do something to interfere with them. So either way, Sundial is basically validating High Tide's management and business model by taking this 5% stake. It just looks like a threat because obviously it's a competitor, and we view them as potentially being up to no good somehow, maybe a little nefarious. So it's something to definitely keep an eye on. Make sure that you like the video for the algorithm, subscribe for more videos. Make sure you consider joining my Discord, linked in the description. And I've got a sponsor, Moomoo, if you want to, maybe check them out. If you deposit some money using my link in the description below, I can benefit greatly from that. Also on Twitter or X, I am at Mr. Macho Mog. I tweet and repost a lot of High Tide related stuff, so if you want to stay up to date, definitely consider following me there, as well as Blake Downer, who is also covering High Tide stock. Take it easy, everyone.